coming through? Okay. All right. Well, I hope everyone's been enjoying all the nice cool weather the last couple days. Don't get used to it, but I hope you've been enjoying it. Not to be super pessimistic, but the problem is with the cooler weather like this, it always just reminds me of a time of year that I really don't enjoy at all, and that's winter. I'm not a big winter fan, to be honest. Like fall is okay, but I'm just not a big fan of winter. And yeah, it's all right. Mostly I hate winter in Missouri specifically because we can't even have the snow that goes along with it. It's just cold, right? And we just go straight to the ice, which, I mean, that's not pretty at all, you know? So I'm just not a big fan of winter, okay? And, but it's not just about the cold for me. It's kind of more what that season represents. And for us specifically, the reason why it is so depressing is because that's when we have to winterize the RV and we can't go camping anymore. Now, granted, yes, you can go camping in the winter. It's just not comfortable, right? You know, it just marks this end of like, well, we're done, nothing else to do. And if you'll allow me to be just a little dramatic, you know, the temperature isn't the only thing that drops in the winter. It's also my joy. But over time, the reason why this going RVing, going camping has become such a big deal for us is like it's become more than just like a weekend getaway for us. It's been a way for us to just really disconnect, to go and just kind of force a time of rest, force a time to just be apart from stress and all the other things. The only thing you have to worry about is do we have enough wood to last another hour before it's time for bed, right? That's the only thing you have to worry about if you'll allow that experience to really come over you. And like I said, that's one of the reasons why that becomes such a low time for us, because we use it for that time to stop and recharge, like I said, and kind of separate from that. We are really good at a to-do list, for example. We have a new to-do list every week. Sometimes we have 2 or 3 a week because we get through the to-do list because we're awesome, but we're really good at that. And maybe it's because we're super forgetful, so that's why we always need a list. But we struggle with, unless that list is completely erased, we can't stop. We got to keep going. We got to do the next thing. We got to figure out, hey, the bathroom still needs trim. There's still weeds in the garden. I haven't mowed the grass in a week. That kind of like, it just keeps going, keeps piling up. But then all of a sudden, now the van needs a part replaced. Well, okay, now all of a sudden that's at the top of the priority list. And then this last week, the transmission went out on the Expedition. So yay, so that's another thing that went to the top of the priority list, plus everything else that was already on the list. Is anyone else feeling this? Right? Like, this is life, right? Like, we all understand that this is how it goes. And the to-do list never stops unless you make it, unless you're intentional about it. And that's what the idea of, like, the camping and the RVing, which, if you think about it, it's kind of ironic as why the transmission went out, but whatever. But that's why that was so important. It's like it's hard to be stressed out by the lack of trim in the bathroom whenever you're not even in the house, right? So it's something that we have to be intentional about. And we all get that, right? It's very hard. So today we're going to be talking about Sabbath. Again, this is the second week of talking about Sabbath. And we're going to be unpacking a little bit about what God has to say about it, but then also just how it directly applies to the modern culture that we all live in. Because we understand that the modern culture we live in is not about rest, it's about production. I work with several people that they never take a lunch break. Like, I actually even asked one of them one time, it's like, why don't you ever take a lunch break? Like, it's only an hour of your day. Like, why don't you just take because she was not complaining, but she was just kind of opening up like, I just feel so stressed. Like, I just feel so stressed all the time. And then she's starting to, she has to go to the doctor because she's starting to get like a rash and everything. Not to get like super detailed, but anyway, but she's starting to get like a rash. And she goes, I'm pretty sure it's all because of stress. I'm like, well, when's the last time you're taking a lunch break? And she goes, I don't take lunch breaks. It's like, why? She goes, I just feel like there's way too much to do. I was like, well, that sounds like a you problem. But because that's what the modern culture, the place we live in right now, that's what's praised. Right? If I take my lunch break every single day and I say, this is a time that I'm saying I get this. Like, I have to have this, right? I'm taking my hour or whatever you get, everything. And let's say that's something you could do too. All of a sudden, your boss might look at you and be like, well, obviously, he's not dedicated. He thinks he can just take a break? That's the tension. Because we live in a world that's all focused on production, not rest, not taking time for ourselves. And sure, maybe you do it once or twice a year on vacation, sure. Who's ever really gotten rest on vacation? You know what I mean? Like, need a vacation from the vacation kind of deal, right? You come back and guess what? The grass is even higher now, right? It's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than just going to Cancun once a year or wherever you go. It's got to be more than that. So that's what we're going to kind of be unpacking a little bit today. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but maybe in conversation. So with me, like if you were to say, hey, Adam, how are you doing? One of my big things is I'll say, hanging in there. Or maybe you'll talk to somebody else and they'll say, I'm fine. Or, yeah, I'm okay. Like that. Has anyone ever come to you, it's like, well, I'm just busy? Has anyone ever responded in that way to you? Has that ever triggered you that maybe you're starting to hear that kind of phrase more often? Like people are less like, oh, okay, I'm fine. Or, no, sure, yeah, I'll get the slight pleasantries. And they're actually going straight forward. It's like, I'm just busy. Like they're even starting to identify themselves as that. And this is what we're going to be talking about, for the fact that we've taken on this identity, the busyness and production, and us thinking that that's the only way, that's the only thing that we are meant to do. That's all we got. Well, that's not it. That's not all we got. God had a different plan from the very beginning. Because here's the thing. I would say, maybe you're busy, you feel tired, and I would even make the argument, you're not tired. That's not your problem. I'm not tired. If I was tired, I'd go take a nap. I'd go to bed early tonight so that way I could wake up tomorrow and feeling refreshed and ready for Monday morning. I'm not tired. We're depleted. We're depleted. And we need a spiritual recharge, because the combination of physical exhaustion and spiritual depletion only leads us to one place, and that's burnout. That's the only destination with those two combined. And I would venture to guess there's a lot of us here this morning that's exactly where we're heading. A combination of physical exhaustion and spiritual depletion. It's called burnout. God knew this. In fact, He wrote it on our hearts that it's something that we needed. And I know we do this a lot, but we're going to do it this morning as well. We're going to start at the beginning. We're going to start in Genesis. We're going to talk about how this was first meant to be, how we are first meant to live in this Sabbath. And maybe you've heard the story, maybe not, but God came and He created everything in 6 days, right? And then on the seventh day, He rested, right? So let's go ahead and read Genesis 1, verses 1 through 2, just so we can have God's word actually speaking into this, not just Adam, right? So we're going to go ahead and read this together. Genesis 1, verses 1 through 2, and that's, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God finished His work that He had done, and He rested on the seventh day from all of His work that He had done. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all His work that He had done in creation. In Old Testament writings, like things are repeated to give emphasis. Do we notice what was emphasized during this time? God created the world in 6 days, filled it with beauty, order, and life. And then He stopped. Not because He was worn out, not because He was exhausted, not because He threw out His back, right? There wasn't anything like that. That's not what happened. He stopped because there's nothing left to do. It was done, it was finished, and it was complete. And so here's an interesting question. How many days of creation were there? How many? 6. Let's read that again. And on the seventh day, God finished His work, and that way it was done. And He rested on the seventh day from all His work that He had done, right? So God blessed the seventh day. Thus, let's go back to it. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God finished his work. On the seventh day, he finished the work. Not the sixth day. He didn't say, I finished on the sixth day and now we're not doing anything. He said, on the seventh day, I finished my work. What's that mean? That means the idea of rest was written into creation. That means that all of that was written into it. It wasn't I did it in 6 days and then there was nothing. It was like, no, I did it all in 7 days and rest is part of it. Rest is included in creation. That's why there's 7. And this isn't just some poetic thing like, that's right, it's done, everything like that. No, this creates a ritual and a pattern that God continually does all throughout, right? So even on the seventh day, we have the Sabbath, right? On the seventh year, we have this idea of release, where you release slaves and everything like that. And then you have the 7 cycles of 7, which if you'd like to do the math, you can do it. I'm not going to do the math. But the 7 cycles is called the year of Jubilee. That's where everything is forgiven. And all this was supposed to point back to a God that says, you need rest. And what a light this was to all other cultures at the time. Like, how crazy to think about this. Like, a lot of the cultures with the lowercase God, right, they couldn't, plant their vegetables or anything the right way or the wrong way because they didn't know if the God would hate them for it and completely destroy them or anything like that. They just had no idea, right? Zeus, I don't know what's going to make him mad today. They had no idea. The only God, capital G, you could count on was Yahweh, because he laid out the rules. He laid it all out. He let them know specifically, this is what you were to do. And that included rest. That included a cycle of rest that just kept building and building and building. And it wasn't just for the Israelites, and so they could be a light and draw other people to God. All centered around this idea of 7, completion. It's done. Trust me. I got this. But what was the problem? Did we stay there? Because how it's supposed to be is we were created on the 6th, and then we woke up, and it was the Sabbath, right? And then we were supposed to forever and ever, for all eternity, live in a Sabbath rest with our God. That's how it's supposed to be. Just keep going and going and going in that 7th day rest. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for us because we chose striving over stillness. We couldn't trust in what his definition of done meant. Let's go ahead and read Genesis 3, verse 6. Because there's a word here that really stuck out to me whenever I read it. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was a delight to the eyes, and we've kind of talked through that before, the idea of eyes and being able to see and everything, all through Judges, they did what was right in their own eyes. We've unpacked that kind of stuff before. So it's we already got a problem. We already got a problem. And that the tree was to be desired to what? To make one, what's that say? Wise. That's right. It says wise. That's an interesting word. That the thing that was, the temptation that Eve saw, what he's aiming for with this is to make her wise. To gain knowledge. Earlier it says your eyes will be open. This is the enemy and what they said, right? It says your eyes will be open and you will be like God. What? Knowing good and evil. The temptation was laid out there. Or in general, there is more than what God has provided, is what he's saying. There's more. There's more. He's holding back. He's holding back. Are you sure you're happy with what he's given you? Are you sure you're happy with all this beautiful garden that he's provided? Are you sure you're happy? Are you sure that's enough? Are you sure your house is big enough? Are you sure your car is new enough? Are you sure you worked enough today? Are you sure you put in enough hours this week? Are you sure you're loved fully and truly? Are you sure? Do you hear it? Do you hear how it's the same message? Are you sure? Are you sure? There's more. There's more. There's more. And you can have it. And then what do? They're like, yeah, you're right. I want to know what that is. I want to seek that knowledge. I want to strive for that knowledge. I want to strive for that wisdom. I want it. And they take it. They take it. We were not just reaching for a snack. That's not what we wanted. We wanted independence from God. We wanted to seek wisdom outside of his will. But the problem is striving for that wisdom without trust in him, it gave us the opposite, right? It didn't give us fulfillment. It didn't give us peace or anything like that. That striving for wisdom outside of his will, outside of trusting him, led to nothing but toil and shame. And that's what we got. And that's where we are now. Rest was put to an end and striving began. We were cast out of the garden and forced to work. And work. And work. Because Adam and Eve desired more wisdom. They wanted to know more. This concept of seeking increased wisdom, this concept of wanting to know more, to get more, to do more, like this isn't an alien concept to us, especially here in Western part of the world, right? Like we are surrounded by, you can go to social media. It's like, well, that guy's got a brand new Corvette, so why can't I have a brand new Corvette? So apparently I need to do more, work more, and everything to get to that new Corvette. Like we understand this concept. And for you, maybe it's not a Corvette. Maybe you're not a car guy, and that's okay. But whatever that may be, you have this goal in mind that you're seeking towards, that you're aiming towards. And the thing is, we call it ambition. And I'm sure there's tons of people here this morning that as soon as I say that, I'm like, well, what's wrong with ambition? Actually, there's nothing wrong with ambition. I like to consider myself an ambitious person. I'm motivated. I like to get things done, for sure. But the question then comes to, how does your ambition fit into what God has for your life? How does that fit? Are you including him in that at all? These are just questions. I'm not trying to point fingers. But are you? Are you doing that? I think it's interesting what Solomon has to say with this later on in Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes 1:18. Here's what he says. For in much wisdom is much vexation. And you see I kind of put in parentheses there. Also called like frustration, right? Is a way to think of that. And he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. We feel this. Who's ever gotten a promotion at work? Anyone ever got a promotion? That's it? Really? I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Who's ever gotten more responsibilities at work and they didn't actually call it a promotion? But there we go. That's better. Okay. It's like, hey, we're going to give you more to do and all this. It's just like, oh, cool. Does that mean more pay? Well, you get the opportunity to do more for the company, right? Everyone feels this. Or that time where it's like, oh my gosh, I just became important in work and now I don't know what to do. Like, we understand that. All of a sudden, you start increasing in wisdom and knowledge and your experience. You start becoming better, and then they start coming to you and all that. Now, all of a sudden, all the responsibility is on your shoulders. Sometimes that can lead to some sorrow, right? That can lead to some anxiety, I think is a good word for us to use in that particular context. I have a friend that lives in Northeast Missouri, and he works for a production company. And he's been there 20 years now or so. And he just keeps going, keeps building the ranks. But at one point, his last position, he finally became a manager. And he was super stoked, right? I finally got the manager, right? I'm climbing the ladder, everything like that, right? So it's a 24/7 production facility. And he was a manager. So therefore, if anything were to stop producing, he would get the phone call. So it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning. And he'd get a phone call. It's like, hey, so-and-so, something broke. What do we do? And so then he would have to get up and either go in or take care of it over the phone, whatever. And that would happen many, many times throughout the week. He was on call 24/7 because of that. He got the job he always wanted. He increased in his wisdom and his knowledge, and his ambition got him where he wanted, but he wasn't happy. The job started to kind of suck the life out of him. He's better now, but at the time, it was really, really hard on him. I think we can feel that, especially, like I said, in Western culture like this. Like, we understand that. You just keep growing and growing, and just like, oh, man, this doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know what it is. Just, man, this just doesn't feel like, this doesn't feel like how it's meant to be. And you're right. This isn't how it's supposed to meant to be. Solomon may have a point that wisdom leads to weariness, not rest. Wisdom leads to weariness, not rest. The lie in the garden wasn't just about the fruit. It was about whether God's finished work could be trusted, and that if it was truly enough for us. So what this did, it broke that relationship and started, dare I say, an addiction to self-reliance. That the only person you can trust is you. Maybe your spouse, right? But the only person you can truly trust is you, because you have it in your head that if I don't do it, no one else will. Maybe even your lack of rest has made you bitter in some way. It's like, well, no one else is going to do the job. Everyone else is just lazy. Right? And maybe that's a posture that you've created in life because you feel like it's all on your shoulders. And this is that fear, that self-reliance lie that we've all taken part in, and to be totally blunt about it, is sin. Is sin. Because we are originally meant to wholly and truly trust in what God has given us. And we broke that. It's broken. It doesn't work like it's supposed to. But God didn't give up on us. He kept pursuing us. Even as much as we want to strive in our works and our days, and as much as we want to strive, God doubled down. Our rebellion, he came with his own striving. He came with his own striving. Because see, like the Israelites were even brought into literally a back-breaking labor slavery from a Pharaoh. Like, you think you have to work. Like, I mean, they were working. And God saved them. God rescued them. He pulled them out of that slavery, like that back-breaking work. And what did he do? He said, okay, I'm going to provide food. I'm going to provide water. And I'm going to show you exactly what it means to have a relationship with me. We're going to try again. We're going to do this. And he laid out all of these ways that they can come back together. Sure, the Israelites complained a few times, for sure. But that was the goal, right? He was like, come back with me, come back with me. And he laid out all of these things. And then finally we come to Exodus 31, starting in verse 12. And this is said, and the Lord said to Moses, you are to speak to the people of Israel and say, above all, you shall keep my Sabbaths. So all of the things that he said, everything prior to that, you can go back to read it. I mean, there's, obviously this is Exodus 31, right? So there's many chapters ahead of this. There's a lot there that God was telling them. And he says, above all of those, not top 10, not might be a good idea. No, above all, keep my Sabbath. What does that say about our God? That when he says the main thing, the number one thing I want you to keep in mind is rest. Not anything else. Above all, you need to understand you need rest. Why? Because Sabbath isn't just about stopping. It's worship. Like, we take the time to stop, come to church, sing along with Nathan and the band, right? We take the time to worship in that way. We take the time to worship in other ways. How often do we take the time to worship by stopping? I would venture it's easier for us to write a check to the church as a form of worship than stop working. as a form of worship. Maybe that's not everybody. That's fine. But I put a bet on it. That's hard. That's hard. Everything around us has taught us the exact opposite. That your worth is what you can do. When all actuality, your worth is what he's done. That's weird, and it's backwards, and like the sinful part of us is just kind of like, oh, that feels weird and uncomfortable. But also, all this work feels weird and uncomfortable. Like it's both. And I'm not sure what to do with it, right? Everything, it just feels weird. But that's the truth. Your worth is not in what you can do. Your worth is in what he has done. And that's what we are meant to remember, and that's why we Sabbath. Because it's a trusting and it's a worship. Not that we're perfect at. Not that we're perfect at it. I want to keep reading because this escalates actually pretty quickly and kind of like hits home a little bit more here. So let's keep reading on in verse 13. For this is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I, the Lord, sanctify you. Verse 14. You shall keep the Sabbath because it is holy for you. Everyone who profanes it shall be put to death. Well, that took a turn. I think that kind of speaks to the seriousness that God has for the Sabbath, right? When he says, hey, take it off or I'll kill you. I think that kind of points to the seriousness of the matter. Take a day off or you're dead. God's taking this very seriously because he understands how much you need it. And think about how this webs out to everything else in your life. Think about the last time you were overly tired. Were you cranky? Cranky, short, maybe yelled a little bit? How well are you loving when you're tired? The answer is you're not, right? You're not a very loving person when you're tired. When you're on your way to burnout, like we were talking about, when you are physically exhausted, spiritually depleted, on the way to burnout, there's no way you're loving somebody. But yet you choose to keep producing, to keep working, to not stop, to keep doing the same thing. Well, here's the thing. That's selfish, is what God's saying. That's selfish because you're putting your production above your relationships and your ability to love others. Whenever, I believe, Jesus said something about this when he was asked about what's the number one commandment. What's he say? Let's see, it's something to do with loving God and what? Loving others. Right? So why aren't we making this connection? That we live in a way, everything around us is telling us, don't stop, keep working, it's all on you, keep striving, keep getting that wisdom, keep going for that knowledge, so that way you ignore everyone around you. And if you ignore everyone around you, there's no possible way they'll hear the gospel. No possible way. So therefore, you're toiling and you're striving, you're putting above your ability to love others. So no wonder God's saying, I need you to take a break. Because you're not being helpful. Do we hear this? Are we making this connection? Are we understanding the problem with our striving for this wisdom and everything like that? Like, I often think that God looks down at us like a bunch of toddlers. A bunch of toddlers and it's bedtime. Has anyone tried to put a toddler to bed? Yeah. How long does that take? Uh-huh. Yeah, I've never seen someone get so thirsty at 9 o'clock at night. They're thirsty, they're hungry. Whenever we say, hey, we're really cool parents and we have nicknames for pajamas, they're called jammers, okay? So, right? When we are in there, it's like, all right, guys, it's time for teeth and jammers. And I swear, society just collapsed. Like, everyone has now started jumping off the couches. We're running up and down the hall. We're like, like, I can't believe it and everything. It's the worst thing that's ever happened. And all I did is tell you, go brush your teeth and put on your pajamas. Because they know what's the next step. I have to go to sleep. And God looks at us in the same way. And he goes, you guys are just throwing some tantrums. He's looking down at us and just seeing it, like, that helps me. That helps me put whenever, like, I'm overly tired and I know I'm cranky, I know I'm just being really short with people or something like that. It's like, oh, I'm being a child right now. You just, like, you start picking, like, silly fights, too. Like, I remember one silly fight that we had. I made the peanut butter and jelly sandwich wrong. And I put the jelly on first, you know, and you start with it. So then obviously it smears into the peanut butter. I'm like, well, what else are you going to do with the peanut butter? Like, does it matter? You know, but we were tired. It was a long week and everything like that. Or like, you put the dishes in the dishwasher wrong. Has anyone ever done that? Thank you for being honest. I appreciate that. So here's the thing. I don't know if you know this. There's not really a wrong way. Just saying, there's not a wrong way. Okay. The water goes everywhere, okay? It doesn't matter how they're in the dishwasher. The water goes, okay, whatever. We're going to keep going. All right, so, but here's the thing. Like, us being adults, we do a really good job of like, hiding our childish behavior, right? It's masked in, oh my gosh, like, has anyone sent a passive-aggressive email at work before? Okay, 2 people. I don't believe you. Okay? Like, there's more than that. I sent a passive-aggressive email 3 days ago. Like, come on. So, like, we hide this. We mask this. Like, I was like, I don't know if I want to mention the email or not, but I did. Okay, but we hide this through, like, sarcasm and everything like that. But at the end of the day, we're throwing a tantrum, and God's looking down at us, and he sees how all of this is affecting us physically and spiritually, and how we're heading towards burnout. And he understands, too. It's like, hey, this is how it was originally created. This is how we were originally meant to live together. And this is how you are now. And he goes, are you seeing how you're acting? He looks down upon us, and all he says is, bedtime. It's bedtime. Listen to me. It's bedtime. The world will keep going if you take a break. It will. Because you're not as big as you think you are. And we're invited into this. When we're overstimulated, overtired, we're invited into this. And Jesus says in Matthew 11, verses 28 through 30, and we've done this one before, but he says, come to me all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. And you will find rest for all your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And what a Savior. Not just physical rest, but a soul rest is what he's inviting us into. He gives us himself, his gentleness, his presence. A life that isn't built on striving, but abiding. Where true rest is found. This completion of what was originally meant in Eden. Jesus completes when he dies on the cross for us. The author in Hebrews touches on this too. Hebrews 4, verses 9 through 11. If you read the first part of chapter 4, he's talking a lot about the history of how the Israelites were supposed to go into the promised land, and in their disbelief did not, because they were afraid of the giants and everything like that. So God did not let them enter the promised land. And then later in Psalm 95, the psalmist actually writes, they were not allowed to basically enter my rest, is what it says at the end of Psalm 95, talking about this situation. But Jesus brings it to us. He says, so then there remains a Sabbath rest. And what's interesting in the original Greek too, Sabbath rest is actually one word. And it's about that long. I'm not going to pronounce it, but it's also the only time it's used in the New Testament. So this idea of Sabbath rest is very unique to this verse. And what it means is a completed rest. It's kind of like a verily, verily. It's like a repetition that gives emphasis, saying it once and for all. This is the rest. Once and for all. It's done. There's nothing else to do. So then there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. Because remember, the people of God were not able to enter the rest because of disbelief in numbers. And then, it was talked about again in Psalm 95, like we said. For whoever has entered God's rest has also rested from his works, as God did from his. Let us therefore strive to enter that rest, so that no one may fall by the same sort of disobedience. Here we have that word strive again, but it kind of takes on a different feel this time, right? Instead of striving to produce stuff for ourselves, now all of a sudden we are to strive to enter the rest. So that same energy that you are using to get your to-do list done every week, that same energy, do you focus that on rest? And it doesn't necessarily always mean like take a nap or be lazy. Like a worship trusting rest. Do you trust? Do you strive in that way? The only kind of striving that leads to life is the kind that helps us stop striving. This is the climax. This is where it goes. It's finally Jesus finishing it. Just like God with creation, he says, it is done, it is finished, now rest. Jesus does the same thing, but this time with his own life, ending on a cross, his final words, he says, it is finished. Come to me. Abide in me. And have the Sabbath rest. The ultimate rest that is only found in the granted eternal life that we get from the blood of Christ. Because he is the way, the truth, and the life. The only way, truth, and life. We only get that through him. He is the way to get back to Eden. That rest that we were meant to live with God forever. And for all eternity, that only comes through obedience and belief in the finished work of Christ on the cross. It is finished. You didn't finish it. It's not what you have done. It's not what you will do. You can't produce your way in or out of this. It is finished. Jesus did it. And Hebrews says we are to strive to enter that rest. That means rest won't just happen. It's not going to just come to you. Someone's not going to come to you and be like, hey, don't worry. I got this for you. Please go do the thing, whatever. Like, more than likely, that's not going to happen. It's a discipline that you have to take on. Understanding that my to-do list doesn't matter as much as I think it does. And it's not about it being done. It's not about the to-do list being done. It's not about all the dishes being done. It's not about all that. That's not what it's about. It's worship. And trusting in Christ that my striving that I am putting towards all of these things, the energy I'm putting towards these things, needs to be reoriented to strive towards the rest I can only get in Christ Jesus. And this isn't limited to a calendar, right? This isn't limited to a day. This isn't limited to any of those kinds of things. I know plenty of people that once a week, they do the 24-hour Sabbath rest. And it works great for them, and they've seen great things happen spiritually and in their lives, which is great. And that is something that all of us could definitely work toward. And I would actually say, please, work towards that. You need it. God says you need it. But I would also say, I don't. Because it's hard. And it's okay that it's hard. So this is something we're doing together, right? We're trying to learn how to do these things together. We're working towards it. Right now, the mosses, that's what it looks like. We have to get in the RV and we have to completely physically remove ourselves from the environment. And that's how we get there. There are times, though, on Friday evening and Saturday evening, we enter this time of rest. We're not at a full 24 hours yet. So don't all of a sudden get this anxiety that's, okay, we got to get, calm down. Again, it's not about a calendar. Jesus is inviting you to a rest that you can tap into right now. Anytime. He's inviting you into that. All you got to do is believe. Put your faith in him and believe. And that's the thing. Like if you're toiling and you have the anxieties of this world and everything like that, I think you should ask yourself, it's like, how much faith do I have in Christ? And I don't mean that to like try to shame you or anything like that. That's not it. But it's just like you have to sit back and you have to think about this. I think it should give us pause. It should at least give us pause that maybe I need more trust in the one that said, it is finished. So practically, what does this look like? We have one more slide I want to show. It's the last one. And these are just some practical ideas that maybe you can start with. Like maybe it starts with just one evening a week. You turn off the screens, light some candles, share a meal, go slow, talk to each other, laugh, rest. And that's what it looks like. This is a lot closer to what the mosses look like. There, we just kind of turn things off for a little while. Okay? So maybe you start saying no to one extra commitment each week. Maybe it's that simple for you. Maybe Sabbath for your family looks like a walk, a nap, a board game, time in prayer. I said these are just a good front door to start the practice of Sabbath. Because it is a discipline. It's a lot easier for us to work and trust in ourselves. It's a discipline to do these. And that's what we're calling ourselves to during this series, right? It's a discipline, spiritual disciplines. Not righteousness, wisdom. This is a wisdom we should strive for. Okay? Maybe it means teaching your kids that rest is worship, not laziness. I put that up there for me. That one's for me, for sure. So as the worship team comes up, I want to leave this up for just a little bit longer if we can. And I want everyone to just kind of ask themselves, what are you striving for this next week? How many times just during the last 35 minutes or however long I've been on stage, I'm not really sure, but how many times through the 35 minutes you've actually been focusing more on what you need to get done Monday morning when you get to work? Or this afternoon? Man, I just can't wait till this guy stops talking. You have any idea how many house projects I got to get to? Right? What are you striving toward? What's the priority in your life? Everything's balanced. There's nothing wrong with ambition as long as it's balanced with God's created order. And that means you, like how you were created. How does your ambition balance with rest and Sabbath? Because again, God said, do it or I'll kill you. It's a good reminder, right? So anyway, as we enter this time of worship, I want us to just be thinking through those things. And if you struggle to get there because maybe you and Jesus just don't have that relationship, right? Maybe you're struggling with this because like, man, I don't feel rested in what the gospel message is in my life. Like, I don't understand that. Like, how does that fit? We'll have people around. We would love to talk to you about that. We got Jimmy, we got the prayer team, we got everything. They're more than willing to sit and pray with you and talk with you.